Tenant by the homesicknomad. There is a house, far from anywhere I've ever lived. Reaching it always takes time. Hours of driving, roads that forget where they're going, paths that vanish behind me like they were never there. I don't remember how I first found the house, only that I knew how to get there. The first time I arrived, I had no key, but I found an open window in the back. It was easy, almost like I'd done it before. Inside, everything was ready. Lights on, fridge full. The air smelled like something warm had just finished baking. Someone had clearly lived there, but they weren't there. And for a while, I let myself believe I could stay. But then, I woke up. The next time I returned, I knew the way better. My hands gripped the wheel like they remembered it. There was a car outside. A figure moved behind the curtain. I didn't knock, didn't speak. I just turned around and left. Something told me I wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe I never was. But even after that, I kept returning, not to stay, not to claim it, but to care for it. I painted the walls, fixed the broken banister, planted flowers in the garden. I paid the bills, kept the place warm, left fresh fruit on the counter. Sometimes I'd sweep the porch and just sit there, pretending this was my home. I did it because I loved the house, not because it was mine, but because I wished it could be. And as I continued to care for it, I began to see its beauty. The chipped corners softened. The light returned to the rooms. The flowers bloomed. It felt thankful. The more I cleaned, the more the house revealed. Hidden rooms, hallways I hadn't noticed, some blocked by collapsed beams or clutter. If I cleared the way, I could step inside. Each door I opened revealed something magnificent. Private galleries, glowing pools, libraries, spas, and rooms that felt like they were designed just for me. One was a music room. Vinyl records lined the walls, hundreds of them. Every album that ever meant something to me. Pianos that played like memory, guitars strung with gold, a cello that vibrated just from my presence. It made me obsessed, desperate to open them all. Why show me so much and still hide the rest? One day I returned and found one of the usually locked doors slightly ajar. Someone else had gotten in. Inside, broken china, cabinets smashed, beauty ruined. Only one plate remained, whole, untouched, delicate. I picked it up, held it in my hand. For a moment, I wanted to destroy it too, but I didn't. I tossed it gently, not hard enough to shatter it, just enough to chip it. I hadn't broken it, but I hadn't protected it either. Another door, still locked. I pressed my ear to it and heard them, not just laughter, not just the man's voice. It was crying too, screaming, arguments, moans of love, a loop, like the room was reliving the same chaos over and over again. Sometimes laughter, sometimes lovemaking, sometimes a crash, a sob, and a door slamming shut. And every time I returned, it had happened again. I never saw them, but I always saw the damage. A beautiful painting, torn to shreds. A piano with broken keys. A meal, once perfect, now splattered across the walls. Every time I saw what had once been beautiful, and every time it had been destroyed. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps in other rooms, not mine, a presence just out of reach. Then I'd find things. A flower I didn't plant, a gift at the door, notes I never wrote. Someone else was taking care of the house, quietly, like me. Sometimes when I returned, the walls were a different color. Furniture had moved. The space felt redesigned, but it was always unfinished. Walls half-painted, strokes wild and uneven, as if done in a fit of rage, then abandoned. A new couch, left covered in plastic, a table placed wrong, surrounded by broken chairs. Nothing ever fully settled, nothing ever made whole. I never saw him clearly, only the silhouette, moving behind curtains, slipping around corners. I wondered why the house opened its doors to him, but made me crawl through a back window. Sometimes I wondered why it let me in at all. Sometimes while I took care of the house, I'd find a cat inside. She wasn't mine. I don't know where she came from, but she seemed tied to the house in some ancient way, like they were bound together. She didn't need me, but she welcomed me, often brushing against my leg, purring softly as I repainted walls or swept the floors. I think she liked that I was trying, that I cared, and sometimes she'd hiss at the scent of the tenant, at the objects he touched, at the doors I could never open, like she remembered, like she hated him too. But then I'd turn a corner and find scratch marks on the wall, furniture torn open, a flower bed I'd carefully planted now dug up and ruined. She would sit there, calmly, watching me, as if to say, "I was here before you, I'll be here after." She was a guardian, yes, but also a tormentor. She could love the house and still destroy it, just like the tenant, just like me. I watched how the garden would bloom with fields of the flowers he planted, wild, fast, overflowing. My own flowers, just a few here and there, fragile, hesitant, as if the soil wasn't sure if they belonged. The house loved what he gave it, but he never loved it back. The flowers bloomed for him, and he ignored them. He never watered them, never trimmed the weeds, never even looked at them. They grew in tangled patches, suffocated under vines, beautiful and forgotten. I used to kneel beside them, not to claim them, just to mourn what they could have been. One night I returned again. The garden was dead, the front gate splintered, and through the window I saw him, a man, inside, destroying everything, throwing furniture, screaming, punching walls. The house crumbled with him. Pipes burst, ceilings collapsed. The house broke apart in grief, and I stood outside, watching. He never saw me. I never went in, but I saw him, and I knew who he was. You can't save a home someone else is committed to burning. Years passed, and still. I returned. The house stood, but barely. Graffiti, broken glass, trash inside. And someone still lived there. I found a burned book I once loved, a cracked mug I used to reach for, pieces of a dream I once believed in, and then I understood. It was never mine. I had been welcomed, maybe even needed, but I had never been the tenant. I was only the guest. But still, I remained. I had spent so much time in the house that I couldn't remember where I lived before. I forgot what my own home looked like, forgot what peace felt like. I was a homesick nomad, longing for a home that was never mine. I kept returning, even as the paint dulled, even as the doors stopped opening, even as the music fell out of tune. I stopped tending the gardens, stopped repainting the walls, stopped exploring. I no longer reacted when I saw the traces of the tenant, a cracked frame, a stain on the carpet, a door left hanging off its hinge. I didn't fix them. I didn't fight him. I just stopped. I checked out. But I couldn't bear to watch it fall apart. I didn't want to save it anymore. But I didn't want to see it burn either. So I stayed. Quietly. In the background. A ghost in the walls. A caretaker without purpose. A guest who never left.